Hello, I'm Heather. I'm here to talk about Thunderbird. Some of you may know that I used to work at Canonical and I got to learn all kinds of snapping stuff. So when I moved to Thunderbird as my next job, I was able to carry that banner, and now we officially support it. So I'm here to talk to you about how I helped bring that about and make it a first-class citizen. So a little bit of a history lesson. Thunderbird has been a deb seated on the Ubuntu ISO for ages, and as of 2404, we replaced that deb with a transition package to install the snap. And that is joint maintained by Thunderbird as well as the Ubuntu desktop team. And we kind of share that responsibility, and it's great to work with old colleagues again. In order to do that, we wanted to bring a bit more feature parity and have a very open communication channel to make sure that we're both, finding issues and fixing them, and share that maintenance burden because it's better for everybody. And there's an upstream commitment. So now Thunderbird, officially sets time aside so that I can work on the snap to make sure that that is a great experience for the user. And that way it's not just the flat pack or the tarball, right? We're all team free software. And then we also adjust the user recommendations. So anybody that's using Ubuntu, we absolutely recommend the snap, as well as snaps for everybody else. But on our documentation, we say, if you're using Ubuntu, please install the snap and let us know how it goes. And if people want to help out on the snap, then you can go here and see a list of bugs. So one of the changes that we did was made sure that all of the snap bugs live in bugzilla.mozilla.org, which is where the Thunderbird bugs are. And if there's a snap issue, then both Seb and myself get an email saying, hey, there's a new snap bug, and we can go and be proactive and look at it quickly. If you do want to make changes, the Snapcraft YAML is all still in the Ubuntu GitHub repo, and that's where we do our collaboration. So if you want to bring your snap into the first-class citizen realm, just have that open communication and try and get as much feature parity as possible. And if you want to help on the Thunderbird snap, we would greatly take those contributions. And that's it. Thanks.
Hi. My name is Paweł, and I'm with Heroic, and today I just wanted to show you a bit what we've been up to this last year, and some cool stuff I have to show. So we've been mostly catching up with Amazon, Epic, and GOG. They changed some services and added new stuff, so we had to add those features as well. But I'm the mostly focused. I will be mostly focusing on GOG online features, and for UMO integration, you can hear tomorrow's talk by Gloria Seger. I really recommend tuning in for that. There's also one thing. We started a bit of effort to actually run UWP or Win runtime apps in Wine. So you can see on the screenshot here, we actually got a DirectX example made by Microsoft running in Wine, and yeah, it runs pretty great. If you want to join that effort, here's a QR code. In case you wanted to see the slides again, they're linked in the talk descriptions. So the Comet is the project that actually allowed us to integrate with GOG services fully to enable achievements, playtime, and other multiplayer features. But there's a catch. Linux native games not really support that. The reason is GOG doesn't really advertise that they support it, and there are only few games that figured it out. So there is a game like Indivisible where, yeah, it works. It connects with Comet instance and works nicely. But how is it even possible? So there's this little download section called Steam Runtime that it's not even mentioned anywhere in the GOG's documentation, but it's there. And yeah, there's more information about that for game developers who are interested in maybe supporting those features and letting Linux users of native builds actually use them. So another thing is I want to introduce you to Maxima, which is the EA app replacement. So you can see the slogan, it's the farthest you can get from the origin, right? So it is a blazingly fast replacement that supports Windows, Linux, and maybe in the future Mac. And it will be provided as a Rust crate, CLI, TUI, and GUI. So whatever you want, you can use that. But now, the blazingly fast thing is not really up to the programming language used. Also, yeah, it is blazingly fast but not because we are using Rust, okay? So here's a little demo. It's running on a Windows machine, and this is kind of a speed run of getting the game to run. So it's about 6 seconds, and as you can see, we actually had to move the window. So even after moving the window, it's pretty fast. So it takes like 1 second to actually move the window itself. So maybe if someone wanted to do a world record, yeah, here's an opportunity. So if you have any questions, meet us at the Linux gaming booth. We are together with PLAYTRON as well, so thanks.
Hello, I am standing in for Anas Rejo, who couldn't be here, and my name is Hayden Chambers. I'm a UX manager at Canonical. Let's talk about open design. Let's talk about building bridges between designers and open source projects. As you all know, at Canonical, we've been committed to open source principles and promoting collaborative spirit within the community. However, even though much of our development is open source, our design processes still don't reflect those values. Design in general certainly doesn't. So let's talk about that in more detail. There are challenges in making design inclusive and effective, not just at Canonical, but also in other open source projects. One big problem is a lack of transparency and clarity in our design processes. When it's unclear how decisions are made, it's hard for designers to contribute. It's hard to get involved. The quality of contributions is also a challenge. Especially without clear onboarding processes and documentation, it's hard to understand how to contribute and what tools to use, and this results in a time sink for both maintainers and designers. Lack of communications make it worse, leaving contributors feeling lost, unsure where to ask for help or to share ideas. On top of that, there's no central native place for design contributions. Out of curiosity, how many people here consider themselves developers for an open source project? Raise your hands. Great. How many consider yourself designers for an open source project? There's a challenge there, right? The numbers are way lower. As we push forward for evolution and innovation, as we move to have open source projects become first-class design citizens in a really competitive environment, we recognize the need for better collaboration in how we approach the design. So today, we're excited to tell you about our Open Design Working Group. It's still in early days, but our mission is clear. We want to empower both internal and external designers to contribute to open source projects. But what is open design? We believe that design, like open source, should be transparent, inclusive, and driven by a collaborative effort. We want to bridge the gap between the maintainers and design communities. We want to make it easy to identify open source projects, to contribute and to find designers. We want to simplify engagement. We want to enhance collaboration. We want to advocate for open design, not just in places like this, but in workshops and training sessions and conferences around the place. We aim to empower individuals to develop their design skills and actively participate in the future of open source. We're here to promote existing resources. We're having regular conversations with the Ubuntu community team. We're building and promoting resources. We're understanding the needs and motivations and interests of both parties. We're trying to prioritize those ideas that we discovered in a survey that was sent out to designers interested in OSS and maintainers, and keep everyone's work relevant. But community doesn't happen in a vacuum. There's no oxygen. So if you're interested in this topic or feel like you could benefit as a designer or a maintainer, please reach out to us. We'd love your input, we'd love your collaboration, we'd love your collective wisdom. If you haven't already visited us at the Canonical booth wearing these t-shirts, please stop us in our tracks, or you can reach out to us on this form or email opendesign@canonical.com. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eylul, and I'm here as part of the Ubuntu Studio. I'm the Ubuntu Studio Art Lead, but I'm also here as part of a new initiative called Ubuntu Flavor Design Squad. Now, before I go further about this, what is Ubuntu Flavors? Flavors are basically a variation and modification of the existing Ubuntu distro for a specific audience. This might be somebody who wants to use a different windowing system, like KDE Plasma. It can be someone who wants to use Ubuntu on a very low-end, very old machine. It can be someone who is using it from a special geographical area. It can be somebody who wants to use Ubuntu to set up a studio in their home on an old laptop, or a new one. Or it can be somebody who wants to install Ubuntu in a school network. This is why Ubuntu Flavors exist. And what this translates to is that we tend to be small groups of people who does often more curation and customization rather than full development. And what that means is most of the groups either have like single design volunteer or no design volunteers at all. And the work tends to be like nothing to do, a wallpaper, nothing to do. We are doing a whole overhaul of our UI. So you can kind of see the problem. And worst of it is, most of us are single designers or just few developers who does design on the side. The person you have at hand might not even have the same skills. I'm a visual designer, I'm an artist. I know some UX, but like, I'm probably not the best person if we are doing something that's very, very elaborate and extensive. I need help. I'm definitely not a marketing person. So like that's the kind of problem that starts to happen, and we try to communicate, like conferences like this help, but outside of that, it is hard to communicate and get help. And this is why Design Squad exists. So in the other side of it, for designers, we often work in a dialogue. Some of these are actually issues that are part of larger open design problems, which was mentioned in the previous talk. But also, the situation gets actually exaggerated because we are such small projects on our own. And you want to have feedback, you want to have brainstorming, and often there is nobody to do that. Similarly, as I said, extra specialized knowledge, sometimes what you need isn't even like UX or graphic design, it is somebody who's has experience in doing illustrations for young children. And then you want to get these people in. Sometimes there are people on the outside who will be able to contribute, but they don't know the infrastructure, they don't know how the volunteering structure works, they don't know the community and how it works, the etiquette, the culture around it, where to start help. Like, should I be going to Matrix? Do I know Matrix exists? So the goal of Design Squad is to try to help solve these problems today. That is specific to the flavor, eventually with the hopes of actually reaching out to the larger community, but right now to solve these issues, especially for the flavors. So how does it work? It's very simple. Projects for each release cycle are going to be announced and added throughout the process. And active volunteers will list their skills. It's important that, again, volunteers will let us know every cycle because life changes. Our time commitment changes. This is a volunteer work. And to keep sustainable volunteer work sustainable, it's very important that we actually make sure that, like, people can step down and step in. And now from there, people communicate and we move on. This sounds interesting. You're a flavor lead, you're a designer. Come join us on the Ubuntu discourse, or you can use the QR code to get to our subsection. We are under flavors. It's a little bit hidden. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Nirav Patel. I'm the founder and CEO of Framework, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. I think lightning talks are a super cool format because it forces you to explain a complex topic really quickly, but instead of explaining a topic, I'm actually going to physically demonstrate a complex topic, which is how and why we've made Framework an ecosystem-based company, and specifically an ecosystem-based hardware company. Now, all of you obviously familiar with software ecosystems, given that we're in this room together at the Ubuntu Summit. Ubuntu and Canonical and the Linux community broadly is an ecosystem. It's a software ecosystem. And we saw over the course of decades really the power that comes from ecosystems and thought, why can't we have that in hardware too? And so what we've done with the Framework laptop and really the core philosophy of Framework itself is this idea that by designing products to be modular and repairable and upgradable, we can, of course, design them to last longer, but we can actually also enable the same types of powerful outcomes you get from software ecosystems with hardware as well. So what we've done throughout the history of Framework is open sourced as much as we could. So we've released open source reference designs and documentation and CAD around most of the core parts of the laptop, most of the module systems, and including things like the mainboard, and really just open it up to allow the community and third parties to be able to participate as well. And as a result of that, we've started to get some pretty exciting things out into the world, including this. So this is the first third-party mainboard from a company called Deep Computing that's actually here at the Ubuntu Summit. And the cool thing about this is that it's not just the first third-party module of this complexity as part of the Framework ecosystem. It's actually also one of the first RISC-V powered mainboards that's available for a laptop. And so the cool thing there is that by enabling this ecosystem-based approach with the Framework laptop, we've been able to get a super competitive product that is actually RISC-V powered faster and earlier than would otherwise have been possible, and we didn't have to do it all ourselves. We could do it by leveraging our partners. And so by opening up the source of the reference CAD for the mainboard, opening up a bunch of documentation, and just making it clear that the intent of this product is that it is not only a Framework product, it's actually just a Framework-fostered ecosystem. We're able to get the team at Deep Computing up and running extremely quickly. I know probably many of you are wondering, this is a 5-minute lightning talk, right? Is he really going to be able to do this? And I will say, I have practiced this many times, and on a normal day, I can do this in about 3 minutes and 30 seconds. I am running on less sleep than normal this weekend, but I am watching the timer and feel pretty confident that we're still going to be able to do this in a lightning talk format, not a long form talk. But this is, of course, just the start. We're 5 years in as a company, and we're just 4 years in on the Framework laptop as a product and market. And here we are already with a third-party mainboard. And we expect that the success that Deep Computing is going to be able to generate with this, with developers specifically, is also going to bring encouragement to other third-party hardware makers to come and participate in the ecosystem. And of course, again, the power of that ecosystem is that the more participants there are in it, the more breadth of capabilities there are in what everyone is creating, the more valuable that ecosystem gets for all participants, and the more that ecosystem can continue to enable more people around the world. And so we are definitely enthused and excited to be able to continue to support that as a company and hopefully help all grow it together. So this was a physical demonstration of the power of ecosystems. And if anyone has any questions on it, definitely feel free to stop by the framework booth in the booth area, or also the deep computing booth, which is right next to us. So thanks, everybody, and have a good summit.